There are moments in life that seem ordinary until they change everything. This isn't just something strange that happened to me. This is something that never really left me.
My name is Yusuf. I'm 28. Back in 2022, after some tough personal circumstances, I had to relocate from Cairo to Alexandria. I didn't have much money at the time. It was 2:01 a.m. I froze. What do? I remember Mr. Ramsey's face and his warning. My heart was pounding in my chest. Should I open the door? What if it's an emergency? Or what if it's not? So when I found a cheap apartment not far from the sea, I jumped on it. It was on the 3rd floor. The place was old but neat. Just a living room, a bedroom, tiny kitchen, and a small bathroom. The building owner was this quiet, elderly man named Mr. Ramsey. He handed me the keys with barely a word. But one thing, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "If the doorbell rings after 2 a.m., don't open it." I thought it was just a weird neighbor, you know, the type that always causes trouble in these old buildings. So I paid no attention to it. Until one night I woke up to a loud bang on the door.
The first week went by without any issues. The sound of the waves at night was actually really comforting. I'd look through the peephole and there'd be no one there. I looked through the peephole and this is what I see. At first I thought it was just a prank. Maybe a kid in the building or someone just hitting the wrong bell? And then the time to 10. I didn't do anything. I just stood there staring at the box. Then the lights go out, but it happened 4 nights in a row. Same time, same silence, but then things started to get a little weird. Every night at 10 a.m., the doorbell would ring. Just once, I finally decided to just ignore it. But then last night, to 10 a.m., the doorbell rings. It's a small box with a note that says, "You have a nice place here. It's quiet. I like it. What do I do?" One Thursday night, I decided to stay up and wait. For what? I don't know. For a miracle, maybe. Or maybe just for a good story. I was sleeping and I woke up to a faint tapping coming from inside my wardrobe. I opened it slowly. Nothing, but it smelled strange, like old wood and damp clothes. They laugh and they say, "Oh, it's just a phase. It's just an old house." But I know what I saw. Do you believe me? Because if you do, then here's what I want you to do. Go to the place where you feel the most alone. It could be an old house or a room in your childhood home or a dark forest. And then wait. Wait until the 10 a.m. and listen closely. Can you hear the footsteps? Can you see her? Can you feel the presence? Because even though I can't see her anymore, I can still feel her watching me sometimes. And that's why I keep waiting for her to come back. And on the top shelf, I found something I'd never seen before, a small wooden box, broken. Inside, it was an old photograph. A young girl, her hair covering most of her face. On the back of the photo, a date was written in faded ink, 1984. It was to 10 a.m. when the bell rang, right on time. The bell rang once, but this time I heard footsteps running down the stairs. I threw open the front door. The hallway was empty, completely still, but then I saw it. In the corner of the stairwell, a small, wet footprint. It looked like a child's foot. There was no water anywhere else. I didn't think much of it. I mean, it's an old house. It probably just rained, so I went back to bed. The next night was worse. That's all I have to go on because that's where the story ends. I never saw her again after that night. Well, I never saw her during the day, at least. I did see her one more time. 3 a.m., same as the first night. The bell rings. I hear the footsteps. I open the door, but this time I'm not alone. She's standing in front of me. Well, hovering, I guess. You can't really see her. All I can tell you is that she is wearing a white dress and her hair is covering her face. She doesn't say anything. She just stands there. I don't move. We just stand there. And then she turns and walks away, and then she disappears. Every time I try to tell someone about her, they just laugh. That photo I found in the apartment, it wasn't an easy thing to track down. But the next morning, I went to talk to Mr. Banks. I asked him about the photo. His face changed. Landlords would slash rents just to get rid of the place. When people are unhappy, they look for someone to blame, he told me. Sometimes it's easier to blame a ghost than confront the person next door. When I asked him what I should do about the noise, he shrugged his shoulders. You're a new tenant. You have rights. If you're being bothered, go to the police. That's what I did. The building was old and most of the apartments were rent-controlled. So the landlords couldn't really afford to just tear up the apartment and start again. But the problem wasn't the fire or the ghosts. It was that every time a new tenant moved in, they brought their problems with them. Sometimes those problems could be fixed. A leaky pipe, a broken stove, a burned-out light bulb. But other times, like the time a husband and wife argued so loudly that their baby started crying, those problems couldn't be fixed. He looked down, took a breath, and said, I wasn't going to tell you, but if you've started seeing things, you deserve to know. He told me that 40 years ago, a widow and her young daughter lived in apartment 6C. One winter night, there was a small fire in the kitchen. The mother survived. The daughter didn't. Since then, no one had stayed in that apartment for more than a few weeks. People complained about footsteps, the bell ringing at night, and soft knocking from inside the closets. One man even claimed he saw a girl standing on the balcony at dawn, unmoving, just staring out over the street. Mr. Ramsey said most of the tenants were too afraid to move in. The super had a wife and kids. He understood about arguments. I waited until midnight. Then I heard it. A knock, knock, knock. Someone was knocking on my wall. I called the police and waited. When they arrived, I explained the situation. They listened politely, then they left. For a moment, I felt like I was being watched. Then I heard a voice behind me. Don't you think it's rude to listen to people when they're talking? Startled, I turned around. It was the woman from the apartment across the hall. She smiled sweetly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I just thought you should know the walls are thin. If you want to hear gossip, you've come to the right place. The last night I spent there, I had a dream. A nightmare, really? I was in the apartment, but everything looked darker. The doorbell rang. I opened it. And there she was, the girl from the photo. It was an old black and white photo, maybe from the 1950s. There was a girl in it. She looked about 10 years old. I spoke to my neighbors. They didn't know anything about her. I went to the local library and I found some old yearbooks. At first, she didn't say anything. She just stared at me. I went out into the hallway and sure enough, there it was. I don't want to live in a haunted apartment. I picked it up. It was cold to the touch. On the surface, it looked plain, almost boring. But when I opened it, I saw that it was lined with red velvet. And inside that velvet, there was a key. I took the key. It was heavy. I turned it over in my hands. There was a weird symbol on it. I didn't recognize that symbol, but for some reason, it felt familiar. But then she started to speak. She said things like, "It's my box. Give me back my box," over and over again. And then last night, I had that nightmare. But the girl's face didn't match anyone I could find. So I put the photo on the fridge, and then I forgot about it for a few weeks. She was standing in front of the apartment building. In her right hand, she was holding a wooden box. The photo was a little creepy, but it also made me curious. Who was that girl? What was she holding? Where did the box go? And where did she go? Hair wet, barefoot, holding the wooden box. She looked up at me and whispered, "This is mine." But no one ever gives it back. Then she disappeared. I woke up screaming. The lights were off. The power was out. I checked the time. To 10 a.m. Then I noticed something. The front door was slightly open. On the floor was the wooden box. And the photograph, it was gone. I'd only moved into that apartment a few weeks earlier. It was a great place. Cheap rent, big windows, creaky floorboards, and a very long, very creepy hallway. The apartment was on the second floor with 2 other units above it. The other tenants were a young couple who seemed nice enough, but they kept to themselves. I never saw much of them. Then, one day, I noticed a photograph lying on the floor in the hallway. Over the next few days, I tried to find out more about the girl in the photograph. But then last week, I started having dreams about the girl. Every night, she would stand in the doorway. When I woke up this morning, I felt compelled to find the box. I knew exactly where it was. What do I do now?